I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is the semi-final of the 2025 European Team Carcassonne Online Championships. In about 95 minutes, we're going to find whether Poland or Ukraine makes it to the finals, and in about 4 and something hours, we are going to find who will be crowned the strongest team on the continent. Now, Poland and Ukraine have had both very strong tournaments so far, each losing only one match in the group stage. In the quarterfinals, Ukraine breezed past Hungary very comfortably, losing no duels, whereas the United Kingdom managed to pick up only 1 point against Poland. And now we're going to see the match between the two favorites for the title, in my view. So the Poland team is the reigning European champions with kind of a classic lineup of 3 superstars and 2 experts. Ukraine, I think, is currently the strongest country in Europe overall with their abundance of players, but you're only allowed to line up 5 of these for the match. And these are Yaroslav Herasimenko, lawyer, on table 1, and they will be quite evenly matched against Poland's player with a spectacular screen name, Great Death, with 3 instead of an E. This match we're not going to cover because I know that lawyer tends to play pretty fast and I will just not have enough time to comment properly. On table 2, the 2017 world champion Tomasz Preuss with the screen name UY Skuti will be the favorite against Pavlo Brien, despite Pavlo also being a master. On table 3, the highest rated player in Ukraine, Kirill Omanakov, with the screen name Adrier, is going to be the favorite against Tomaszek. On table 4, the 2021 world champion Maciej Polak will be the favorite against Samuelson, and this one we're also not going to watch, not only due to the rating disparity, but also due to the fact that Samuelson plays exceptionally fast in my view. And now finally table 5. Table 5 again is, in my view, the most interesting. So the third Polish leader, Mateusz Podlewski. Wait. I think I butchered his last name. Pozlevich, I think. I'm getting a hallucination. Never mind. Mateusz, and his last name with a 60-70% accuracy. Anyway, so that's MTU, whom we witnessed in the quarterfinal, but we're going to feature him again. It's not just because of him, it's because he's very, very evenly matched against Ukraine's captain, Serhiy Zaharenko, and the creator of the Carcassonne GG website with the screen name Zaharek. And Zaharek is one of my favorite Ukrainian players to watch, first of all because he takes his time, and also second because I think his style is a little bit different. It's kind of more balanced. It's not so much points grabbing. It's more unpredictable moves, spatial awareness, stuff like this. And I'll be very, very curious to find out how these two match. So probably on table 5, this is where the entire match is going to be decided. So we're going to jump right into the games in 30 seconds or something. Hi Pro Rock TV. And let's just refresh the page. Okay, finally they have started. We will witness the first moves, and Zaharek was the starting play with the red meeple. He placed one immediately on the monastery for the more aggressive placement. MTU picks up the 3-point road. Zaharek with a straight line. MTU with a straight line now tries to break the monastery of Zaharek unsuccessfully, as he immediately claims a 4-point city and the lead on the scoreboard. Also another 5-point monastery spot waiting to happen. These 2 road segments could be in the future picked off by MTU. The first shielded tile of the game, MTU starts the city on the right with a proud green meeple in the center. Zaharek with another shielded tile of his own, and already real decision in the game. There are 3 principled moves. One, if you want to keep things very light, you go over here, but he decides to be more confrontational, exhibit some pressure, exert some pressure on these here squares. So this could work well. MTU now, I think, making the first imprecision / mistake of the game. I don't really see a justification for a 4-point monastery spot instead of a 5-point monastery spot. And also it was super important to break this spot for Zaharik, because now if Zaharik gets a monastery, then he's gonna go over here, and this is not gonna be so great for him. So it looks like Mateusz is going to pay the price for it, as his monastery is vulnerably placed. Now his meeple is also here a little bit threatened, 3 tiles still remaining to fill in that square. So what is Green gonna do here? The move which is most natural to me is just to go here. Prolong the road, start a new city, hope to get a curve to take advantage of these here 2 road tiles. The second option is to go over here and start a new city like this, and hope to get something like a Dorito tile to try and start blocking this square, whilst also building on your city on the right. The third option, and one which I prefer least, is simply to build up the city over here, obstruct the monastery square next to red a teeny tiny bit, and aim to go over here on the next move, cover up your city from one side, and create a platform against Zaharik. Part of being a master player is having a great intuition. Like, MTU knew somehow that Zaharik had this dagger in hand, so there was no point in him going over here, which would have been a reasonable move, and so the Pole decided to just start a new city. In the meantime, Sergey, with 12 points on his scoreboard, MT is trying hard to get some point for himself. Still 5 Dorito tiles in the deck to finish this here city on the left. Curvy tile for Zaharik. Probably going to get another 4 points by finishing a straight line. By finishing a loop road, sorry. He could also be a bit more aggressive. He could actually go here and preserve this here spot for a little bit later. Instead, he makes this here move, which I don't like one bit. The reason why I don't like it is that it really doesn't do that much. Because obviously he creates an attacking platform against this city, but this attacking platform is not guaranteed. Whereas if you go here and create yourself a monastery spot and prevent this city cap from being placed, then this is already something more tangible. But what do I know? So he now restricted this here city, making it also harder for MTU to continue his road. Because there's 2 tiles that fit into this square to finish that city, 3 more tiles that can continue the city without finishing it, and then obviously until MTU draws them, which he does. But if he were not to draw them, then this road would have been more difficult. And this is the reason why I don't like moves like these. 2 rather valuable curves spent by Zaharik on doing something which had only limited chances of success. I think the Ukrainian here is not thinking about the position holistically. So he was playing against the city as if it's like super vital to get this meeple block, but in reality Zaharik could totally afford this city being completed. He now gets his monastery spot, which would have been a better spot had he placed this curve here earlier. I'm just gonna keep repeating that, but whatevs. Still a really good position for red. This here green meeple is quite restricted, only 2 tiles now remaining to fit into the square. This is the smart move from the Pole, actually very smart, observing the principle of 2 cities, possibly a bit too aggressively, but it limits the potential of the field where Zaharik just dropped his farmer, and it also indirectly protects his city, making it harder for red to fit something into the square and make a permanent block. Green is being very aggressive with the scoring, and it's a perfect tile. Look at this. All 3 segments of a crossroads are used. The first segment to finish the first 5-point road, the second segment to start a second 3-point road next to red's monastery, and the third segment used to build a separate road on the left. This is peak efficiency right there. Zaharik, in the meantime, is building a big, massive city threat, and because there's this second insurance meeple nearby, it's not really realistic for MTU to try and join that city. So instead, he's trying to block it. First, a straight line has gone over here. I assume he wants a couple more, given the fact that there's only one starting tile remaining. But there's a different idea for MTU. We're gonna see if he finds it. So a tempting move for the Pole could be over here, because Zaharik just created the threat of a permanent block of the square, and that surely would be unpleasant. But what MTU can do instead is go over here and try and block not one but two meeples of red. The reason why it would be strong is that we're running out of the tiles that could fit into that square. Only one roaded Dorito is remaining, because 4 of them are already on the board. And, well, they're also the triple cities, but then maybe we could go here and block a little bit later. So I think this move would be the strongest. Of course, there's always the possibility that, you know, like we go here, and then our opponent draws the road Dorito tile immediately, and then we look like an idiot. But the chances of that happening were 1 in 39, and so green decided these were pretty good odds. Hi, Helga. Zaharik now trying to block the monastery of green, whilst also restricting the road of green. It is an annoying move to play. MT now needs to set his priorities straight. Number 1, we could go over here, or like this, actually, setting up a monastery. That'll be fun. Or even like this, getting a point, protecting that square indirectly, and preparing to block not this part, but this part instead, so that the red monastery meeple ends up as collateral damage. Another option is to try do something against this square straight away. The issue that I'm having with this is, let's say we go here, then our opponent could get some sort of city tile, perhaps, like a cow, for example, and then try and do this. Okay, this is a really smart move, because it serves 2 purposes. It is indirect protection of this here meeple, which is actually really, really strong protection. There aren't really that many tiles that go here for blocking. In fact, there are only 2 tiles that are suitable for blocking, because anything else that Zaharik could put here to block this meeple, he already needs over here for the cities of his own. And second, of course, the prospects of having the red monastery meeple blocked on this square are completely real. Not that it worries Zaharik too much, as he can simply continue his own cities, on his own monastery, catch up on the scoreboard a little bit. And he can now even finish one of his monastery. The question is, does he do that with a meeple somewhere? And I think the answer is yes. I think he should have considered meepling that city, just knowing that he's going ahead on the scoreboard. And you don't want to leave a juicy piece like this, because imagine if MTU gets like a normal city cap on his next move. It's not crazy for MTU to go here, gamble a little bit, place the last meeple over here, waiting for example, one of the 3, how'd you call them, rose tiles, the city caps with the crossroads, which would allow him to finish the city for 12 points. So it is rather dangerous to leave objects like this lying around. Zaharik clearly has a good reason for this. He wants to leverage his meeple advantage, but given that he's 12 points ahead on the scoreboard and has still a significant threat here of completing his cities, it seems to me that maybe being a bit more risk-averse is the way to go. Well, he now has a city tile. He cannot finish his city as it was just duly restricted by MTU, which is not short for Marvel Cinematic Universe. This blocking move is very nice. There's only one starting tile remaining, so it will keep this road meeple occupied for a significant amount of time, if not forever. But again, I probably would not have minded for him to just go over here and try to build that city. Mateusz is continuing scoring. And he even meeples a new city cap, which he, I think, considered not doing, because he has a city cap over here already, there's an open city cap over here, and so on. But we know that Mateusz is exceptionally stingy with open city caps. Sometimes it doesn't serve him well when he's trying to be overly efficient, but the Pole figured that it's enough time until the end of the game to recover all of his meeples, and so efficiency is still his top priority. Curvy tile for MTU. The standard move here is probably to just go here for 2 points. Instead, he does something which I was gonna say was not understandable to me. Why is it so important to restrict the empty city cap? But yet somehow it works, because Zaharik cannot score the 4 points here. What Zaharik can do, though, is one of two things. Either start a second field over here, which is exactly what he does, or maybe go over here for this here city and try to get the 12 points for it. I'm wondering why like everybody's so afraid of that. The city is safer than it looks. So now finally from Mateusz, we're probably going to see a move here or here, trying to deliver a final block against these here two cities. Hi Mache. Yep, this is exactly what happens. Ooh, dilemma lemma for MTU. So how do we deal with that? So obviously he was threatening to block these cities completely, and the question is MTU, do we now go over here? I think we don't. I think that's a bit too crazy, because then Zaharik just gets one more horse and then keeps building here horrendously. So I think we need a different tile to go there. We just need to win the coin flip for the Dorito from the perspective of the play with the green meeples. Now going back to our actual options. Option 1 is just to take 3 points, restrict the field, and this is what he's choosing. Option 2 was to go over here to prevent precisely the move that Zaharik is going to play right now. Zaharik might be tempted to go over here and go for a 50-50, but I don't think it's such a good idea. It's a wonderful move. It's 7 points. It gets him a meeple back without giving a meeple back to Mateusz. This field now just looks completely wonderful. And this road meeple could be permanently blocked in the future. Yeah, green is in such dire straits that I think he just needs to win the coin flip for this here tile, for the road Dorito. So possibly from green's perspective, we actually don't even bother putting in anything here. 1 monastery point is surely a reasonable idea here for green. It is also setting up another 8-point/9 point monastery in the future. So if like one city cap goes here, then maybe there is a monastery. And you know what? If only green manages to get a couple of meeples back from these city caps, maybe, then green can do the following. We get a vanilla city cap. There's still 3 more. And we drop a farmer here. And then we get the regular monastery. We get 9 points. And we also connect our farmer to what has become a 9-point field of Zaharik. So this would be an efficient way to do things. With this here city cap, Zaharik has one and only one correct move, and it alarms me that he is still thinking about this. I think what he wants to do is to double check the tile count. But if he does so precisely, then he will notice that 1, 2, 3, all 3 of the right-handed daggers are gone, and if he just goes over here, then the green meeple will be permanently trapped with 4 points because there will be nothing left to fit into this square. In fact, this move is so impactful that doing anything else would be far, far worse. like going over here and starting a new city, it's just simply not as strong. Because there's still 2 tiles in the deck that can give a meeple back to MTU immediately, or plenty of tile combos, such as a curve and then a horse or something like this. Or, you know, straight line, curve, and then rows, perhaps. There are also these here ideas. Given that MTU has only 1 meeple in hand, we really don't want them to have more meeples from the Ukrainians' perspective. Afternoon, Ian. Well, this is exactly what Zaharik does. He might have been considering other options, or he might have been just double checking and triple checking his counting. MTU gets finally a meeple back, which surprises me, because the MTU that I know doesn't chicken out from a move like this, takes 4 points, and only then takes a meeple back. But I think the poll realizes that efficiency is nowhere near important right now. We just have to get something going for us. So now he tries to block Zaharik's meeple here, but nothing that's going to happen here remotely matters for this game, because the coin flip has been won by the Ukrainian player. 20 points for the city, 2 meeples back, 3 extra points for the farmer. I think this one's done. Well, it's not just I think that, it is definitely the case. Like, I cannot possibly see what MTU can do. He's trying to build a city right there. Zaharik goes for an 8-point monastery, which will cause further devastation. MT here will be looking to get a meeple back from a city perhaps, or maybe continuing his city at the top. Oh, and look at the Zaharik even gets the starting tile and drop a farmer. And now the score is going to be just obscene. So what do we do as MTU? So first of all, I think we need to make a main decision, categorical decision. Like, do we just save the brain power for our next game? Or do we try and work hard and find like a 1% chance to win? Well, I'm not sure if such 1% chance even exists. Maybe what we can do is finish the city at the top, but there are barely enough tiles for that. Okay, maybe we can go here. That's something. Because if we go here, that sets up a very nice road for this here city, but immediate points is the choice of the Polish player. Sergey probably now just gonna go over here and try to invade this here city to prevent anything interesting from happening. You could also go over here and just finish his monastery and meeple this here city, and this would be to prevent MTU from taking this here city as well. Yeah, that actually would be exceptionally annoying. So if he goes here, he gets a couple of points and a meeple back, and then if he reinvests this meeple to this here place, then the only way MTU can get a meeple back is by continuing Zaharik's city, which the Pole will not want to do. So 2 quick points is probably what we're going to see here. This meeple, by the way, is permanently trapped as a result of this here blocking move by Zaharik. Now we're probably going to see something nasty like this. Or this is even better, perhaps, blocking some field invasion opportunities and maybe even trying to further block the square, despite it not being great for the integrity of his city. 3 points for MTU. And the final dagger has been drawn by Zaharik as well. So not... Oh, actually, wait. Is that the final? No, that's not the final. There's still one more. But Zaharek's still gonna just go over here, possibly even meeple the field. Yeah, that's actually very annoying. He's gonna try and get himself a 7-point monastery and a field connection as well. Now the final dagger has been drawn by Zaharek. Not that this mattered, because this here poor 3-point guy was blocked. So what do? I guess we go here. We take a 6-point road just for kicks. And this is exactly what happens. Also opening another city cap. MTU wins the coin flip for the monastery. So lucky, this person. I cannot believe the luck of the Polish player. In case you can't say, I'm not being entirely serious in this statement. So finally, what is going to be the move of Zaharek? He actually has to go here, I think. Drop a 0-point farmer. That'll be fun. The reason he has to go here is because it just is the most high scoring move. It gives him 5 points. So, well, 6 points for the city technically, but we sacrifice 1 point by helping our opponent's monastery. And the score is going to be obscene, but this does not mean that the game wasn't close. In fact, there was a lot of tension, and the situation with Zaharek's city wasn't resolved until the very, very end of the game. And even though Mateusz's idea didn't work out, I still stand by this move. I think it was the correct move to play. It was just a bit difficult to get the follow-up tiles in that configuration, and then the coin flip was eventually lost. Hi Nalaheim, hi Smaller Advan. Yeah, so plus 34 is the score. Let's see if MTU has something to say in the second game. In the meantime, the two other Polish leaders are delivering what they're supposed to deliver on tables 2 and 4. So this is pretty much what we expected. And now Mateusz, as the starting player, will be trying to work some magic with his green meeples to make the duel score even. Starts off by being the first on the scoreboard by completing the 2 points. This mini battle here favors the play with the red meeples. MTU prevents Zaharek from finishing a 6-point city, but Zaharek puts this thorn next to the Polish city. Ooh, what do we do now? As the Ukrainian, we have so many options. I think the move which I like best is something like this. So we try and block the square, we build up our part of the city at the top, kind of we build around this. Then we try to get a curve here to make sure that this here guy cannot escape with the splitter. Instead, Zaharek makes a move which I don't like. It's a reasonable move to make, and in fact, if these here squares, like if nothing here was not existing, then this is in fact the standard correct move to play. So you want to do stuff like this, you want to do stuff like this, and basically build up around the shared square and fill in the shared square last. This tile, however, changes everything. The standard build-up, the standard way how you work through the mini battle is not really going to work. And so what could happen here, long term, if neither party attends to this here area specifically, is MTU going over here with a curve, and then him getting a horse tile, getting a meeple back, without giving meeple back to Zaharek. The tile that the green player has in hand is actually a difficult one to play. He could go over here, But I like this move much better. Zaharik now could score 2 points over here, but that would be bad. He could go over here, which I think could be quite interesting. So when I said the whole build-up is not going to work, it is only partially true, but this particular tile is actually one of the best tiles that Red could have hoped for. It's a bit too long to explain, so if there's a pause in the game, I'm going to try and do that. But this here meeple is very nice. It tries to create an attacking platform against this here city. Not that green's necessarily going to need that. MTU now trying to build up his city at the bottom, whilst also trying to create an unveiled threat of potentially getting away with a bigger city with the 2 versus 1 majority. Zaharik, of course, tries to prevent that by setting up another platform. MTU probably going to build up his monastery by going here. We're here. In this particular position, I'm a fan of the direct build-up. We take care of the road end. We set up another monastery. The indirect build-up also has its merits, but then if you're green, if you're getting another monastery, where are you placing it? Sure, this spot is also nice, but it's not as good as potential stacking opportunities in this here area. And second, there are some situations how this here square could be harmed. In fact, this was exactly the case, and MTU needed a city cap to try and escape from that situation. Now 8 points ahead on the scoreboard. -1, of course, in this mini battle due to this blocked square. Very tense position, very blocky position. One which Zaharik tends to thrive in. MTU, a flexible player. I'm not sure he minds in particular. And now this is a tile that is quite difficult to use for green productively. So do we go here and just continue the city? Maybe. But then what can happen? Zaharik gets the final cow, goes here, blocks 2 of our meeples compared to 1. And that's why this move is so annoying. So if this were a city plus field tile, so a cow instead of a horse, that would not have been so annoying for MTU. But because it's a horse tile, meaning that there's only 1 more horse tile remaining like this in the deck, this square is very, 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 very sensitive. So it's just harder for MTU to do the thing that I said that he wanted to do, to finish his road with a horse, whilst also getting a meeple back. I don't think we go here. Yeah, I like this idea. And then probably what we're going to do is the poll. We try and get something like a vanilla city cap over here, which we now are not going to do, but in theory we could do that. MTU now probably has to go here and just change how he plays this game. Just, it's a different type of position. Yeah, it's very, very good. It creates the opportunity for somebody to invade over here, but it also threatens the completion of the city if that doesn't happen. So Zaharik has to invade, an MTU with a splitter gets himself the 10 points on the scoreboard and a meeple back, and the lead by 12 points on the scoreboard. But Zaharik with another split herb with a different orientation gets 6 points and starts a new city. The position opens up. There are now already 4 completed cities on the board, so somebody's going to take a 12-point field. And MTU has the first tempo, so we're going to see a move over here with a farmer, of course. Also leaving a 3-point road next to his monastery, which Zaharik now probably going to pick up. This actually is quite an important road, because if we go over here and take this road for 4 points, this also will slightly obstruct this here platform, which MTU could to invade this city. And there are some scenarios how Zaharik can quickly draw a Dorito here, cover up, get the Dorito here, and finally wait for the entire game for the final Dorito to finish a 18/20 point city against the measly 7-point road of green. But since green just dropped a farmer, I guarantee you that the first instinct of the Ukrainian will be to drop a farmer in response, and this is exactly what he does. And very often, in many positions, this is exactly what you want to do. But this position, however, is an exception, which is why I disagree with Sergei's moves here. The reason why this position is an exception is due to the large number of little field and field connection platforms like this one, like this one, like this one, or this one if need be, the degree of urgency of dropping farmers, despite the long-term significance of the farmers, is actually pretty low. Hi Played Mac, hi Glovier. MTU starts a city next to his monastery, and I think we see where this is going. So probably the long-term plan, or the mid-term plan, of the Polish player is to finish the city, go here, block this square, so block the city of Zacharek together with his own monastery, and then maybe drop a farmer here, and then get a Dorito that fits here that would finish the road of green without finishing the city of red. It's quite a long plan, but it works some of the time. Zacharek with a very, very interesting idea here, and I kind of like it, actually. I kind of like it. It preserves a realistic chance of finishing that city. And it also prevents some disaster scenarios, because a disaster scenario that I was thinking about, if MTU were to get the final horse, he could go here, finish his monastery, claim a 6-point road, and then later block this square of Zacharek, leaving him without a meeple. And the Ukrainian figures, not on my watch. And if Red so chooses, there's still 2 tiles that fit into the square, which he could use later to try and finish the city. But now here's the problem. Here's the main problem for MTU in this position. And the more I think about this, the more I realize how brilliant this move is. Zacharek doesn't actually have to try and finish that city. All he needs to do is nothing and let MTU make the decisions. Suppose MTU draws the road Dorito first, and he wants to go here to free up his road meeple. But he can't do that because he risks Zacharek drawing the city cap and finishing his own city instead. Vice versa. It's also true. If MTU gets the dagger first, he can't really go and finish his monastery because you know, then there's the risk of red finishing the city. So it's a very, very tricky situation here. And again, all Zacharek needs to do is nothing. So it would be a mistake for red to go over here and block the square. No, don't. Yes, do stuff like this. I have a feeling that the Ukrainian has a very, very good understanding of what's going on here in this area. So this one city threat kind of freezing 2 meeples of MTU, which in the long term will be a disaster from the perspective of the field fight. Zacharek could now actually even protect the square, which makes a lot of sense. This also protects the city slightly. And then, yeah, the most likely outcome is that these meeples just stay here, like, until the end of the game. So, what does red do with only 1 meeple in hand and this here shielded Dorito? As his city at the top is getting exceptionally vulnerable. Wait, exceptionally is a stretch. It's not super vulnerable, but it's just a bit apprehensive. Maybe we go here and place our last meeple and try to prevent MTU from completing an 8-pointer? Well, this is my first instinct, and then we just pray that we survive here. But then there are issues with this too. Because if we do spend our last meeple here, which he chooses not to do, then... well, then there are a lot of tiles that we can miss value from. And in particular, I'm thinking about the 6 remaining crossroads. And how the crossroads can be used over here for 4 points. We also see how the Pole now drew a dagger, and of course he didn't place it over here. He finished this here city. So one scenario how green can get his meeples back from this entanglement in the center is drawing the last dagger, not going over here, and then whilst knowing that this square is safely blocked, Then he can draw the Dorito tile and free up his road without risking red finishing this here city. This of course requires a somewhat fortunate tile draw, but now that one dagger of the two has been drawn, this is exactly the most likely outcome. There's also one more option for MTU to win this game, and this is to do stuff like this. He has enough of a buffer on the scoreboard that he can actually afford some of Meeple's getting trapped, and if he manages to trap even that guy, then he's probably doing alright for himself. All he needs to do, he needs to make sure that Zaharik's idea of in the future using an extra meeple to try and somehow penetrate the main field does not cost green so much in terms of points. This field is very, very nice, but the field is only 15 points in the long term with 5 completed cities on it. So if we keep it that way, which is a likely occurrence, now that Zaharik is probably going to take 4 points and maybe make sure that these two cities do not become part of the main field. Oh, but he doesn't. I can understand why he did that. We're going to talk about this in a second. But yeah, but basically, if MTU can keep the field small enough, in many scenarios, especially if he keeps drawing quick point tiles and Zaharik keeps not using his quick point tiles, then, of course, MTU can still win. But the Ukrainian gets a meeple back. That's a huge, huge tile draw. This move was entirely reasonable. The protection of the meeple, of course. It was entirely reasonable. I expected this as one of the options. So now only -7 for Zaharik. Which means that if he somehow finds a way to enter the main field, then he should be winning. MTU in the meantime with a savvy block. There's nothing that fits into this square. So red will not be getting this meeple back, and red just chooses to develop a counter field. I'm not sure, not a counter field, but like this little field on the left. Since there are only 2 road Doritos remaining, it is entirely possible that these here farmers never meet with this here farmer and the fields stay separate. Because I was talking about the 15-point field in the long term, but in the short term, well, there are only 3 cities on this side for 9 points, and 3 cities for now on this side for 9 points. And so I can see how Zaharik wants to prepare for the eventuality of the fields never connecting to each other. And now we will even find out, does he even want for the farmers to connect? Because if he does, he's going to go over here with a meeple or without, probably without at this time, given the abundance of quick points that are lying around. And from here, we know that Zaharik does not want to unite the fields. His plan is just to develop the fields in this here area and make sure that this here area on the left grows. Fantastic tile for MTU. A 10-point city waiting to happen. Very difficult to block. The only way to realistically block this is to draw a triple city and do something like this, but there are no triple cities remaining anymore. So Zaharik probably gonna need to live with this city being finished. There's another problem for the Ukrainian, that we're actually running really short on city plus field tiles. There's 0 vanilla city caps that would fit into this square. There's some other caps to compensate for it, but like not super many. There's a splitter, for example. Yeah, so 4 points for the road, which is exactly what we expect. Now we gotta find out, does Mateusz want to connect the farmers or not? And he says, nah, because Mateusz's idea to win the game now is to keep his farm smaller, but hope that his scoreboard lead, which he's going to gain as a result of completing this 10-point city in the future, is going to give him the edge without engaging in a massive field fight. Excellent move again from MTU. Like, this is just amazing. Like, knew exactly how to block this city cap. And it is the correct move, but it was played at quite a high speed. The Ukrainian now is actually ahead on the scoreboard, which is not what I expected. Oh, wow! Oh, no, no, wow. No, 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 no. No, wow. This is just a normal move. Yeah, the thing happened. There's no dagger remaining, right? Because the final dagger that fits into this square, this here guy, was already drawn. So this is already blocked. So finally, 10 tiles before the end of the game, Green got one of his meeples unparalyzed. But will that be enough to actually win the game? Well, maybe. I presume Zaharik is now going to go here, as it will restrict the city significantly. There are still a couple of city plus road tiles available, whereas city plus field tiles are much more scarce. Well, actually, there's one city plus road tile available. Anyway, so that's a good move. MTU could now complete a final block of this here city, because there are no daggers of any kind. All 6 are on the board. They are here for your convenience. I would actually be surprised if MTU does anything else, because Zaharik getting a meeple back is the main threat in this position, really. With 7-6 points extra on the scoreboard, I think MTU has a decent chance. This city sort of compensating the scoreboard. These are equal. Zaharik has a couple more, but MTU has an extra meeple and I think should be normally winning this. Let's say if Zaharik does draw a splitter after the city is blocked, max that Zaharik can do is just score 4 points somewhere. Well, and if MTU draws a splitter, he just goes here and probably wins the game on the spot. Yeah, so this is exactly the move that happens. Sergey with a scoring tile, much needed 4 points. I think if he manages to get the splitter as well, then he's going to get 4 more points for this here city, but MTU is not going to let him. He's going to go here for 2 points probably and block that opportunity. But if the Pole does something else, like this, it is also an option that I was considering. Trying to go here for 6 points. Then if Zaharik gets the splitter, he can get enough of a buffer on the scoreboard. In fact, he has almost overtaken MTU. And he still has this ruin in the center of the board, which is worth 7-ish points. Yeah, and the idea of MTU is again super interesting. So he's not afraid of this here city getting blocked, because he knows that if he gets the splitter, he can still use it here for 4 points. But if he doesn't get the splitter, well, then what does it matter? He's not finishing the city anyway. Sergey has a tile which just doesn't have many good uses. In theory, we could, of course, go here for 6 points and place our last meeple, but something doesn't feel right about it to me. We could also go over here and create a bigger field, or we could just discard it. Okay. MT gets a fantastic tile in every which way. He can score 2 points whilst protecting his city. Or he can go score 2 points here whilst sort of blocking the splitter opportunity for Zaharik. That's actually probably even better. Or he can meeple a monastery somewhere, like here for 6, and then try and get a curve or something to meeple back, to get a meeple back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's still 1 curve remaining. And I presume a road Dorito, because I remember only 4 being drawn. No. Yes, a road Dorito, yeah. So actually, meepling a monastery is also pretty strong. But yeah, I wonder if Zaharik had an idea of unifying the fields and then just trying to drop a 3rd meeple somewhere. Since he didn't do it, I think he wants to win with a splitter. Wow. Wow. So a monastery has been drawn by Zaharik as well. And what is he gonna do? Take 2 points. Must be a time trouble move, I guess. Now MTU gets the final road Dorito, gets the 6-pointer, and he's still going to have a meeple to score. Yeah, that's amazing. And Zaharik now really can't do all that much because there's still a splitter in the deck. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I've been saying this for like 10 minutes. There's no splitter in the deck because they're too nearby. So, I hope you weren't throwing slippers at your TV screen. Okay, let me have a look at the chat now. Only one comment about no splitter. Matt was suggesting a 5-point move to extend his field. Yeah, actually, I wonder why MTU didn't do that. I think the reason why he didn't go over here is twofold. So first of all, maybe he was afraid that Zaharik would then invade his field like this, and so he didn't want to make it bigger unnecessarily, right? So think about this move. And the second reason that I'm thinking is maybe MTU wanted to spend his meeple, knowing that there are tiles that can give him a meeple back pretty soon. Zaharik has just no moves in this position. Especially with the probabilities that he has as the second player. Yeah, he just discards the tile. MTU gets the 6-point field. Zaharik with a straight line just needs to suffer. That's the only thing he can do, just suffer. Taking the 3 points. Field. 1 point for the crossroads for MTU, which also was a thing, of course, we didn't mention. Yeah, and the Pole manages to do it. Despite Zaharik drawing multiple city caps in a row here, that would have fit into this square. How immensely interesting. The fields end up being not united, just 9 points each. It's a very closed, very small ball game. And then MTU, despite the tight grip of this here city in the middle, managed to untangle one of his meeples. And then put it to good use on this field. Yeah, exceptionally spectacular game, and this here move by Zaharik would certainly earn move of the week if I were still doing this segment. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. So we're headed to a decider. Zaharik is not going to be the starting player, which is going to make things difficult for him and Team Ukraine, but he will be scoring the first 4 points. MTU, however, with the first monastery, starting the city now. Zaharik with a measly curve. Excellent start here for the pole. Probably going to go over here, or over here, I'm not sure exactly. I think this here move is slightly better. Maybe with a farmer, maybe with a city meeple. Actually, this is a fairly standard situation, but I don't necessarily know what's correct. Yeah, so this is the move that was my first instinct. Zaharik, one of the worst possible tiles he could have drawn. He's forced to meeple that city, but he places himself immediately under MTU's monastery's control. Green gets a city. Probably going to continue his city at the bottom. You want to abide by the principle of two cities. Maybe this position is an exception, because there's just no good place for a second city. So we're going to accept a continuation shortly. And this is exactly what happens. And there's a reason why this move took about 20 seconds for MTU, and he was looking for a place where I could open a second city, and then like, that doesn't look good, that doesn't look good. Like I think I can feel how that thought process is looking. He gets a second monastery, which immediately makes Zaharik's position really grim. Now we are in the territory where we need to start thinking really strategically, like not in terms of how do we score points, but like how do we win this game? How do we gain some sort of advantage or like counter assets in this position? And not that, yeah, the idea is nice, but the tactics, like you'd be surprised how many master level players don't know how statistically disadvantageous is to place a city cap next to your opponent's city like this. So if MTU gets a Dorito, of which there is still 9 remaining, he goes here, and then Red's position is really bad because this guy's threatening quite a big city. When this city gets completed, the total number of cities gets reduced, and this farmer doesn't have much to show for it. The move that I had in mind had a similar idea. What Zaharik should have done is gone over here and dropped a farmer like this. It's actually quite annoying to deal with. They're genuine blocking prospects against both the monasteries and this here city, and a bunch of city caps that Red can use. So this one move compared to this changes the position so much. So much. Now also, like, what does Zaharik do with the curve? Had he gone over here, he would have had a clear plan of doing like this, or going like this, trying to make restrictions. Now, it's tricky. He could go over here and block this here spot. He goes over here at the top, which makes a lot of sense. But there are still 8 crossroads that fit into that square, so it'll be very, very difficult to complete that block permanently. MTU probably now going to go over here to block this monastery, which he doesn't know if he can retrieve, in addition to blocking his city, and drops a farmer. That's quite interesting. I guess it makes a lot of sense. Finally, a Dorito is deservedly drawn by the pole. And we're going to see all the negative consequences of the big strategic mistake by Zaharik. Now even this here tile to rub it in, and there are several options. Well, actually no, this is very interesting because this is a very good draw for Zaharik. Because now that the quadruple city tile is drawn, getting this here monastery blocked is a big threat. But if I'm MTU, do I really care about that threat? Probably not that much. If I can get some city points real quick, by going over here, for example, which is sort of the standard move in this situation, like you run away from the threat from your opponents, from this here platform, and you try to point your city towards the road so that no invasion platform can occur. And then you hope that you draw a rose or something that scores 16 points. Another greedy approach is to go here and start a second city, making the first city even more vulnerable, but then hoping to complete both of these cities and not allow your opponent a single city cap. Now let me try and make a prediction. I think green should go here, but I feel that he wants to go here instead. Not sure exactly which orientation, but I know that Mateusz loves efficiency, sometimes to his benefit, sometimes to his detriment. Oh, look at this! A conservative move from MTU, which I did not expect. Of course, it has the immediate downside of Zaharik being able to score 4 points on his field, but it should not be a problem. Oh, you know what? Zaharik had a stronger move. No. He should not have gone for the 4 points. He should have gone over here, setting up 6 points and also creating an attacking platform against this square. And look at this. Had he done that, he would have already been able to invade the city of Zaharik. My first instinct was also 4 points, but it's a miss for sure. And this here tactic of when you pre-build a triangle for the sake of creating a platform against your opponent's city is super, super useful to know. Zaharik, now with a dagger tile. Yeah, so now he goes for the blocking, but it is still possible to save that city, of course. MTU builds up his own stuff. I think his idea is like, can't block him all. And he just builds vulnerable cities in many, many locations. That's actually very interesting. So Zaharik now partially restricts the city, but it's also taking 3 points. But there are still starting tiles, plenty of those, 3 of those that fit into the square. So the Ukrainian will need to go further here or here and try and block this permanently. And when he places something over here, Green will always have the first chance to draw something for defense. Moreover, if Green successfully goes here with a curve, then after defending this here city, Green will be able to drop a farmer. Oh, you see, I already drew a dot because this is my first thought, right? For the meeple. And then penetrate the main field like this. Really strong move here from MTU again. Although, you know what? I think this is one of those cases, and I can't believe I'm saying this, where you're actually supposed to not meeple the monastery. There's some nasty scenarios how you get blocked quite a lot there. So let's start with this. I think Zaharik, yeah, can do a permanent block. And now this square is vulnerable, you know. So Green is going to complete his city, then Zaharik is going to put something over here and so on. Green's going to have many meeples blocked. Oh, this is smart. This is very smart, actually. And now, am I about to eat my words? Because this monastery looks wonderful. It's 5 points, completely safe. And it also is controlling the city of Zaharik. So it is entirely possible that MTU just had like spatial vision, which is a bit further. Zaharik, nevertheless, keeps compensating with his draws what he maybe could not have accomplished with his moves, and he gets the second out of the 3 starting tiles, which Green would have loved over here. So now only a 50-50 chance for Green to complete that city, but somehow I have the feeling that Green maybe can even eke out to win in this game without completing that city. So start by connecting to the field, which makes a lot of sense. Mr. Zaharenko is going to go here and start a new city. Or a crazy but interesting alternative is to go here. This is not that crazy, actually. It looks like you're helping your opponent's monastery, but a city plus road tile is not super valuable, and the blocking threat against the city is really severe. This move I don't like that much. It just doesn't do anything to the position. I mean, you get 1 point, but that's about it. With no farmer. I mean, 5 meeples. Like, you have to be a little bit more creative. Yeah, this here move, disrupting the synergy of the monastery and also creating a really high blocking probability against this square, I think was of strategic significance because MTU can easily get a dagger tile and meeple a new road. And there's some scenarios how this is the road. It's not far-fetched. Well, I mean, Zaharik is also trying to block, which is very, very good. It's a bit of a less successful block in the long term, but Green does not get a defense tile. So if Zaharik has any road tile in hand right now, This meeple is going to perish, and this is exactly what's going to happen. Red gets himself a blocker, and he's even gonna drop a... Come... You have to meeple something. Either you meeple the field and wait for the crossroads, or you meeple the road. I don't know. I don't know. Like, you have 5 meeples. And also there's a chance to extend... I can't. How stingy can you be with 5 meeples in your hands? Sergey! Oh, Sergey. I'm surprised that MTU is thinking about this. But the more I think about this, the more I understand that there is something to think about. Now, this here move is 8 points. 6 points for the road, and like 2 points for these monasteries. But this move with the meeple on the road is also not too shabby, because it protects this here meeple. It sets up this road for, what, 5 points? Then he gets a meeple back, scores 3 points for this road. And he can still, in theory, win the coin flip for this. In this particular instance, I think that maybe it is a bit too fancy when you have 1 meeple, but he goes for it. He goes for it! And it pays off. Because Zaharik would have gone over here to block this here road. Wow! This is very, very interesting, and it's actually a very difficult move to pull your trigger on. So far, Green is playing this game not just flawlessly, but like exceptionally creatively. Even though he ended up having his meeples blocked, but like this here monastery meeple is counterintuitive. This here move, the more I think about it, is just like pulls the position into a nice cocoon. And then the idea, of course, is that these here points for the roads, for the monasteries, plus for the blocked meeples, plus still the 50-50 threat, is going to provide a good counter for Zaharik's 11 points on the scoreboard, and 5 meeples, which he seems to not want to use. But finally, this is a really hard move for MTU to deal with. Really hard move, and that's a very nice find for Zaharik. So he's threatening a permanent block against this square, a severe restriction against this square, and the Pole has just no response. Yep, something like this, whatever. But this is going to give... Actually, no, I don't like that move in particular. So, I like the idea of discarding the city tiles, but I don't like leaving it like this, because if you leave it like this, then only your opponent can use it, because obviously if Zaharik gets the starting tile, he could go here, but if we get the starting tile, we go here. So, I think a minor imprecision in the first one in this game. I would have dumped it somewhere else, although it's easier said than done. Like here, for example. Yeah. Anyway, whatevs. MTU is now making a strategic decision here. He could do something here, trying to limit the fields. This one is interesting, but I don't like it. Again, there were better moves to be played. Like, why don't you just go here? Why don't you try and protect your road from being blocked from this side? I feel like maybe the pole is starting to tilt a little bit, just because it's a psychologically uncomfortable state of being when you're without meeples. Zaharik, yeah, he knows his salt, of course. This is the single best move that one can imagine. Amazing idea. So starts building a city and control this here road. I still think it was a good move from Green. It made a lot of sense. But this doesn't change the fact that Mateusz must be regretting it. So, what do we do with the city cap? Well, the conceptual answer is pretty simple. Yeah, it's something like this. The full answer is not obvious, and I still don't know what's correct. So, obviously, we need to go for the indirect defense to make sure that your opponent cannot use a straight line for blocking. The orientation of the tile, whether we place it how it was placed in the game or like this, is not necessarily known. Again, an imprecision from MTU. He was supposed to go here. And he also got his meeple blocks. And look at this, he even is helping Zaharik City just to try and get out of the tight grip of this here meeple. What does the Ukrainian do? A 6-point field with 4 meeples makes a lot of sense. Could be a 9-point field in the future. Could be a gigantic field if a road monastery is drawn and this here guy goes here. And of course, gigantic fields favor the side that has meeples. So what is MTU gonna do? I presume he's gonna, in one way or another, restrict the city of Zaharik. And this makes a lot of sense. Of course, we leave that road empty. We can't afford to not leave it empty. And actually, you know what? I just want to reiterate something further. So this here, monastery, had it gone here, this would have been pretty much almost a full block, because there's this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and so on, right? All of them are on the board. But with the situation how it is in the game, there's still a dagger that fits over here. And it could make a huge difference. Zaharik, in the meantime, is developing his field at the north. MTU is scoring a much needed 5 points. And Zaharik is going to win the coin flip. 6 points for the road. Something that the Pole would have loved to have for himself. And we just have no moves. We just have no moves. Minus 15 and 2 meeples. And this here threat. And this here 9-point field. And this here ruin. Against, though, some ruins of our own and 3 monasteries, so that's something. This city is now almost blocked, but Zaharik can go here and still hope for one and only tube tile that fits here. And this is what he does. But MTU draws the tube tile, so there is at least something for himself. Zaharik now gets a lot of points. 5 for the road, and also sets up something here. A road monastery for the Pole, which he cannot take advantage of. Definitely wishes he had a city cap. Guess the best that I can see is over here, which sort of makes it slightly less likely for our opponents to attack the city, and this is exactly what happens. Another city cap for Zaharik, which he uses to score 7 points in his fields. Yikes and sheesh. Sheesh and yikes. Well, maybe the final starting tile will be drawn by the Pole. It is possible, but yet another city cap for Zaharik will certainly not help our Polish fans' psychological state. with 3 meeples remaining, you can do just anything. Like, you can go here, for example, and meeple the road, the city cap, whatever. Or that. Finally, a city cap is in MTU's hands. 8 points in a meeple back and a glimmer of hope, perhaps. He also needs a curve exceptionally urgently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So only one of those remaining. Zaharik just protects his field a little bit. Okay, MTU could maybe go at the bottom, try to build a 5-point road. Let me just zoom out for a second so that you can see that idea better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's still a straight line left. Like, we can just go for it. We can go here. And then we hope to draw all the quick points in the world. Curve here. Straight line here. This is exactly what happens without a meeple. I think is a bit more precise. But whatever. Zaharik gets himself a curve, which he can even use to go here, I guess, if he wants to try and create the threat of a big field. Not in his interest, if you ask me. But maybe just meepling this smaller 6-point field is the way to go. Yeah, you just meeple stuff. And then you win. This is generally how Carcassonne works. The players are building a vertical map. Okay, well, the Ukrainian chooses to go a little bit extra. No, now he's going for the big field, but he really doesn't have to. Yeah, exactly. Just finish the city, drop a farmer, like it's no big deal. Although, the unfortunate side effect is that I need to zoom out. Yet again. MTU gets the 4 points, and actually this is very wise because it opens a variety of field connection platforms, and he's gonna have to go for fields if he wants to tie them. Zaharik has more than 5 minutes to figure out what's in the deck. Actually, wait. I think if MTU ties the fields, MTU wins, right? He has 20-something points on the monasteries. So maybe for Zaharik, outrunning is not necessarily an option. Okay, so check this out. My first instinct is that we ignore the field and we just go here for 6 points on the field like this, due to these 2 completed cities. And then we like pick up these here 4 points and we try to outrun our opponent, but I'm not sure what the exact score is. So these guys are scoring 24. We can see that Zaharik figures it's not a big deal, and MTU finds himself an invasion. Was there really a dagger? Well, I guess so if he's doing it. Wow. He's actually going to pull this off. I don't think he's going to win, because Zaharik is just going to take himself a 4-point ruin. And that should do it for him. But an invasion is successful. Ooh, this is close. This is close. Wait, Zaharik says good luck in the final. Does this mean that the Poles have won on another table? No. The monastery points were actually enough. The monastery points were actually enough. No, they weren't. Yeah, because I forgot about Zaharik's field. Okay, so then somebody must have won another table. But the monastery points were almost enough. And now that, by the looks of how this game has gone, yeah, Green would have probably just won had he made the obvious move and taken the 6 point. Like, this move is still not bad. It's very, very interesting. Just ended up spectacularly not working for him, but exceptionally back and forth game. All right, so you obviously can see the score. I can. So who actually won? Other than MTU. So UI Scooty, oh, Great Death won against Lawyer 2-0. And Adria won on table 3. So 4-1 is the victory for Poland. Again, the 3 usual suspects plus somebody else. So that's quite convincing. And Poland gets their revenge for the bronze medal match of the World Team Carcassonne Online Championships earlier this year. And Ukraine is going to need to go for bronze yet again. And their bronze medal match is against Belgium, who lost in the semifinals. So in about 2.5 hours, I'm going to stream the bronze medal match. Belgium against Ukraine, where I was going to say Ukraine's going to be a heavy favorite, but given how well Belgium has been doing in this tournament, even in their semifinals, they actually didn't lose all that big. I think the Belgians have quite a chance to make history here. So I'll see you in 2.5 hours or so. Let me just catch up with the chat. Hi again, MTU. Hi, Sergey. Hi, Tomaszek. Okay, we're saying 3-2 for Poland, not 4-1. All right, Zaharik won. Like, why can't I just count normally? Zaharik won on table 5, yes. Because I thought that MTU won the field. And so, it like, you know, it like when you connect to the field on your final tile, it looks very winning. So 3-2. 3-2 is the result. Thank you for correcting me, as you always do. Saying, I think MTU blocking his first monastery was unnecessary. The Red City was not a threat. And it puts him in a meeples shortage. I think it was still okay. I actually kind of like the block because... No. I like the block. Let me just go back to the final position. Yeah, so the block that you're referring to is this here move. At the time, the monasteries were quite vulnerable, and given that there was a real chance of this monastery being permanently blocked, at least green kind of makes sure that this city cannot develop into something crazy, and then that it is blocked already at least somewhere. Another thing that was looking for green is actually this city was much safer, and so he was probably going to get these scoreboard points, and like the meeple shortage is not such a big deal. Yeah, also like mind you that it was quite unfortunate for MTU in many ways. Took a long time to draw the starting tile, then the block here in the first place. So I think the decision to block his own monastery made a lot of sense. Right, any other? If you're asking about move 33, I have no idea where that is. Could you just use something more descriptive? Or I mean, I guess we might as well. CCCF added to my city. Oh, that one. That one over here. That's the standard move pretty much. But I was saying that this is the standard move in this situation, and I think this is best. But I expected you to actually play here and start a second city, but I think it's a bit too crazy. This, of course, is a non-starter, like pointing with a field to the left because of easy invasion platforms. So really, like, there's so many city plus road tiles in the deck, especially after Zaharek takes these 2 points, the city is sort of somewhat protected. That, no, this is definitely like the more normal, logical thing to do. Oh, saving the monastery. Nah, like, the monasteries are whatevs, I think. Because you can always block this square, and if you can just run away with some quick points, then you can probably survive the monasteries being blocked. But also, let's say if you go here and your opponent has something like a road tile, goes here, then you have a city cap, you can score the quick points yourself. I think it's fine. Yeah, so the monastery defense also makes some sort of sense. It's okay to leave the square like this, but yeah, I think it's either doing nothing with the city or going here. And you know what's also slightly different? The fact that this tile has a shield. Because we can get ourselves a 4-point tile instead of a 2-point tile. That's also quite a big difference. In the game, it would have indeed ended up better, but it doesn't change whether it's correct or not. Yeah, I think the move in the game was definitely reasonable and possibly even the best move available to green in that position. But also the beauty of this game is that until there's an AI engine to simulate this stuff, we don't know which one was best. Alrighty. Again, I'll see you in what, 1.5 hours-ish? For the bronze medal match. Meeple the like button if you liked this video. I hope you did, and subscribe for more competitive Carcassonne content like this. Thank you. Wait. Yeah, we can do a bit of analysis. Milek is saying, I feel like meepling this if you, yeah, meepling this I'm not sure what a straying road is. Oh, okay, I think I understand. Let's just go back to this. No, not to this. To this. Yeah. I was saying actually the same thing. So you want to, I think, not meeple here and just leave this empty for the eventuality that you draw a curve first, which allows you to take the points here. But now that I think about this, given the fact that there was both a starting tile and a straight line, then maybe meepling makes sense. Like, your opponent gets the straight line, does nothing, you get the starting tile, and so on. It just can sometimes be a shame of foregoing these 3 points if you don't have a meeple to deal with them. But I genuinely don't know the answer to this. Like, this is the category of the pre-end game, when you know the points and tiles, and you can kind of roughly see what kind of tile combos you can win with, but there are too many tiles to realistically calculate sequences. So anything with 6 tiles and more than that, we just get into hundreds and thousands of variations. So my intuition tells me not meeple. Meepling also makes some sense. Alright, 15 more seconds for any other thoughts. And that should be enough. So again, meeple the like button if you like this video, and subscribe for more competitive Carcassonne content like this. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.